Welcome everybody to the Check Swing podcast with yours truly and my man over there, Santa.
Yo,
What's going on? And another picture of Dick Allen in the background playing for the Phillies there.
yes, sir.
Brand new picture of Dick Allen. If you don't know who Dick Allen is, Google him. But we'll talk about him one day. Trust me on that. But you know how I like to start off every show. I start off every show by saying, "How you been?"
Been well, sir. Getting used to the being down in the DMV, and one thing I figured out is that people drive either really, really fast or really, really slow, and not in between.
Sounds about right. I
Yeah,
kind of remember that.
I don't know
You
if I
start
said
driving
that
that left lane all the time now.
right. I witnessed two of the slowest left turns ever. Um, who was was Yoshi in Mario Kart? He didn't he have the slowest of all the motor karts.
I think it was King Donkey Kong.
Was it Donkey Kong?
I don't know, but I thought I just it makes sense to me that Donkey Kong had the slowest one.
It was the one with the turban that was racially insensitive for today's time. I thought he had the slowest car.
And then Toad,
Otherwise,
no, Toad had a mushroom head.
Toad. That's what I'm thinking
Oh,
of. It was
Toad,
Toad with the
okay,
mushroom.
that wasn't a turban.
It looks like a polka dot turban to me. It looked like it then. I know now that it's
That's funny. That's the first time I've ever heard anyone refer to Toad from Mario's hat or head or whatever that is as okay. Well, welcome to the Check Swing podcast. That's fun. That's fun. That was a good one. Where we discuss baseball, sports in general. We're a couple of coaches when we talk strategies and pro baseball, youth baseball, college baseball, and like I said, some sports in general. But we're baseball guys. I like to call Miguel a baseball historian. I think he's a more of a baseball historian than I am. I am a self-proclaimed semi-basketball historian, but I am a baseball guy. So, with that being said, the last I saw the Phillies, they were down 2-1. I don't know
yes.
what they're looking like now, but we know that they have to win tonight. And if they don't win the night, they have to win out the rest of the season, and the Braves have to lose out the rest of the season. So no need to turn to the baseball game right now to see what's going on because we just updated you. Stick with us now. With all that being said, last week, if you recall, we discussed the Mount Rushmore. We're starting our Mount Rushmore series. I'm just call it a series. It's starting our Mount Rushmore series of baseball players, and instead of it being the four best baseball players that you have that you know, instead of it being the four best and just overall best. Okay, I'll take that down. I'm
Are you
sorry.
good now?
You
You
ready?
good now? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You good?
Um, we are doing one for the outfielders, one spot for the outfielders, one spot for the infielders, which is first base, second base, third base, and shortstop. One spot for the catchers, one spot for the pitchers. And we will unveil the entire thing when the World Series starts. And that being said, some of you may have received or have seen the survey that we sent around from last week's show about the outfielders. We're also taking your votes into consideration. So we allow you to have a say in what goes on. Now, with all that being said, I think it's time for us to discuss the infield, the first and second baseman. Okay. Um, we are splitting up we're splitting it up to first and second baseman. Next week we'll talk about shortstop and third base, and then we will decide on one out of those four best guys, kind of like March Madness style, where we'll be picking two guys tonight. We'll be picking two guys next week, and then we'll figure out um, who gets to stay. All right. So, with all that being said, Miguel, who is the Houdini of the show, what you got for us this week? Who are our first baseman? Who are our second baseman? How are we starting off with it? Are we going first baseman first, second baseman first? That's the one thing we forgot to discuss in our pre-show meeting, but I'm
That's
sure you
fine.
had it prepared.
That's fine. That's fine. Just a quick recap, and if you want to post it on the main screen, por favor. All right. So just a quick recap. We had to decide between Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, Barry Bonds, and Babe Ruth, and we decided that it should be Barry Bonds. As as, the, as I mean, there's different versions of Barry Bonds. I could have probably picked the Pittsburgh Pirate one, but I chose the San Francisco Giant one for obvious reasons. Um, so Barry Bonds, and actually in our voting poll, out of the some 30 people that have put in their votes, they actually are in agreement with us. 30% of the vote is going to Bonds, 28% is going to 26% was going to Willie Mays. A couple of write-in votes for Ken Griffey Jr. I was on a debated argument about this. He had a great career, but it was injury plagued. He hit, close to 630 home runs. He should have had 730 home runs, in my personal opinion. But you know, uh, can't be injury plagued. As close to five tools as possible. Um, stuff like that. So now today we're gonna go into um, the infield. And real quick, you had asked me a question about the WAR stat. Just a quick definition I found to kind of break down what WAR means. So, pretty much measures a player's value in all facets of the game. So, this includes offense, defense, their effect on the game, and his worth in regards to another player playing the same position. So, that's taken into account as well. Not all the way around, but it is
Oh,
taken into
I'm
account.
sorry. Let me take the thing down so that can be seen. That's my fault.
No, you're good. The
Individual.
first part is pretty much the main part. So basically, the scale for WAR is if you're 0 to 1, you're pretty much a scrub. Shouldn't be in the big leagues. If you score 3 to 4 in that rating, you're right. 4 to 5, you're an all-star. 5 to 6, you're a superstar, and 6 and above, you are an MVP. And like you said, we're gonna go into our infield vote tonight. We're going to start with the first baseman. So the first person I present to you as a possibility for one of the greatest first basemen of all time, and I was mixed on this because there was a lot of great first basemen. You had your Miguel Cabreras, your John Crux. Just joking.
I
Um,
was like John Kruk.
John Crux was a good hitter.
He was he was he was a good hitter, but
He was great. He
he
was
was
actually a
never in
great
discussion for the greatest ever first baseman, right? I've
no,
never heard his name. Maybe in Philadelphia history, but I don't know about
maybe
baseball.
Philadelphia. All right, so the first person I got for you,
And I like John Kruk too.
yeah,
Kim Bagwell.
Jeff Bagwell.
I said Kim Bagwell. I mixed up King Cam Nitty and Jeff Bagwell there, but
That was a great Astros team. It really was.
it was.
Um, so there are the numbers for you. Career lines, for almost 450 home runs. One thing he was underrated or not really noted for is he was a great defensive first baseman, and he actually started out was drafted as a third baseman. That's what some people
Right. I was about
forget
to say
too.
I thought he was a third baseman for a
Yeah,
while.
he was a third baseman for the Boston Red Sox,
Mhm.
and then he was traded over to the Astros, I believe, for Larry Anderson, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. I might be thinking of a different trade. Um, so his best season, he batted 368 with 39 home runs, 116 walks. 116 RBI, 65 walks. His offensive WAR was 7, so obviously MVP like numbers, and those are his career numbers there for you. What are your thoughts about Mr. Bags?
368 was his best batting average to almost 300 for the career,
Mm-hmm.
almost 450 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a case for him. You can make a case for him.
Okay.
I don't know. It has Gold Glove. Is he a Gold Glove award winner?
I don't believe he was. I could be wrong. I'll check that before the end of the show.
Okay. All right.
Next person I know was a Gold Glover. My personal favorite, and this is the person that I still argue about. Whenever you bring
Joe
up the
Parker said
name,
put him on there.
put who on there?
I don't know, but I guess maybe he's talking about Jeff Bagwell.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, I got two more left there. Who was that? Mr. Parker.
Yes, William
Okay.
Parker.
Um. So next person I present to you, Mr. Albert Pujols. Personal favorite one of mine. There was rumors somewheres around 2007, 2008 that St. Louis was looking for a straight up trade for him um, to the Phillies for Ryan Howard, which I would have done in a heartbeat to this day
In
because the man
2008.
in 2000 it might have been like 2006, 2007 because they wanted a left-handed bat allegedly. Of course, it was a rumor, but just all around game, great defender. Didn't strike out a ton. He's still playing, so that I know we talked about like retired players, but I mean he's pretty much retired. He's on his last legs. But even based on those numbers, great career. His offensive WAR was 8 in his best season, 2009. So, what are your thoughts about Mister Albert Pujols?
Uh, uh, his best season he batted 327. Um, for his career he batted 299 for his career. So that automatically puts. I mean, his numbers are better than Kim. I mean, sorry, Jeff Bagwell.
You're really into this Ken Caminiti guy.
You must be about to use him as a person I need to guess. I don't know. Maybe next week. I don't know, but I
Maybe.
won't guess I can't even say his
You
name.
can't even say his name now. What the heck?
Yeah. I automatically have to put him above Poolhole. I mean, put him above Bagwell.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like Pujols was more dangerous.
Mhm.
He was more feared than Bagwell. Bagwell was a bad boy too. Don't get me wrong, but I think Pujols was more feared, struck fear in the hearts of a lot of pitchers. And his Brad Lidge had to really reevaluate himself after facing Pujols one time.
You know what's funny
He
about that?
wasn't
I've
feeling
heard that comment before. Like Brad Lidge, he didn't last. I mean, that was a long home run. I mean, that was like, yeah, that was a huge home run. It was a what playoffs of 2004. Huge home run in the playoffs. But he came back. They went to the World Series that year. The Astros did, and then on top of that, he came to the Phillies in 2008. Perfect season, 48 out of 48 saves. So it didn't hamper him that much. What hampered Lidge more was getting tackled by Ryan Howard during the celebration because his knee was never the same after that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'd never want to be on the bottom of that celebration.
Yeah, that was insane.
So who else you guess? I'm already so Pujols is already above Bagwell.
All right, so this is an old school name. You might know it, you know,
Who
from
else?
history.
No, go ahead. I was about to say the wrong, totally wrong person. He's an
Say
outfielder.
it anyway, just for
No,
giggles.
he's an outfielder, so I'm not even going to embarrass
Oh,
myself like
okay.
that.
So he was a famous Yankee from the 20s and 30s. Played alongside Babe Ruth. Was actually the cleanup hitter for the Yankees on Murderers Row for the 1927 Yankees, Mr. Lou Gehrig. Now, for those that don't know, Lou Gehrig at one point had the most games consecutive played in Major League Baseball, which was 21 something. Um, I should know that stat, but which was broken by Cal Ripken in the mid '90s. But this was the guy that played every game of every season for the span of almost 10 years, 10 or 15 years.
He
But his best
probably
season,
would have played more had it not been for ALS.
right? which he contracted during his, that's what actually ended his career.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But those are his stats there. Now, intriguing to me, you see the offensive war for 1927. So 373 was his best year in 27, 47 home runs, 173 ribbies, and still had 109 walks. And this was the era where like they didn't intentionally walk you. So 109 walks on top of 173 RBI, like the guy was clutch.
And his looks like his numbers are better than Pujols' numbers. His best season, he averaged 373, and for his career, he batted 340,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So I guess right now, see, did you do this on purpose? Now I have to put Lou Gehrig above both Bagwell and Pujols now.
I mean, I did that in order. It was just like with the with Barry Bonds versus Babe Ruth, which I think you were surprised by the Babe Ruth one.
You know what? I don't know if knew Babe Ruth was a first baseman. I'm sorry,
No, no,
outfield.
no. We're talking for last week. We were doing outfielders last week.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't. I thought for whatever reason I thought Babe Ruth was a first baseman. I didn't
I mean,
realize he was an outfielder.
he had the build of a first baseman.
Exactly.
He
Exactly.
he lived the life of an outfielder.
Yeah. Yeah. He was probably the playboy of the 20s.
Man.
So yeah, I guess I gotta go with okay. So I guess
So
the last person you put on there is the one I'm probably gonna say, yeah, that's the guy.
yeah, this is the last. This was the those are the three. So
Oh, those are the three. Okay.
those are the three. Yep.
Um I gotta go with Lou Gehrig.
Gary.
I gotta go with Lou Gehrig. I don't, of course, I was born shortly after Lou Gehrig's career ended, so I didn't see much of him. But
You witnessed color TV in its prime.
uh, I would assume Lou Gehrig was feared. His best season, he had 47 home runs in his best season, almost 500 home runs in his career, 1,995 RBIs in his career. His best season, he hit 173. He was efficient. He was
Yes, he
efficient.
was.
He was efficient. He had power. I got to go with Lou Gehrig.
Here's another interesting stat. He never struck out over 100 times. Most strikeouts he ever had in a season was 84, and that was out of 584 at bats. Man made contact.
Which means he struck out less than one time per game.
Less than one time per game.
I mean, that's efficiency.
Yep.
That's efficiency right there.
Yes, sir.
So for first baseman, I'm gonna have to go with Lou Gehrig.
All right. I think we're unanimous on that. Although, I mean, again, right-handed power Latino representing my people. I'll submit to Lou Gehrig. All right, so now we're gonna go second baseman. Second baseman is a
You got
bit.
Manny Trio on there.
You know what's funny? Because I know where you're going with it. I would have, except he really only had 4 good years, and those were all the years that he played with the Phillies.
Okay, which makes it even better.
Which makes it even better, right? And I think he had a Gold Glove at second base every year he was with the Phillies, with the exception of maybe 1 year. And at one time, he had the most consecutive chances without an error. I think it was like 492 chances without an error from like 1981 into 82. But yeah, he didn't make the cut because I mean he was like a lifetime 260 hitter. Didn't hit for average or power. Great defensively, but he really had 4 really good years. Other than that, not much. So here is number 3, Mr. Rod Carew. So Rod Carew played just about 20 years.
He was Rookie of the Year, an 18-time All-Star. He was the MVP in 1977, and he's a Hall of Famer. Didn't win no championship, which not everybody does.
Right.
A 328 career hitter.
Yep. Very known to be a bunter. Was probably one of the best, if not the best bunters, which is probably what kind of which is why people don't think of Rod Carew when they think of great hitters because great hitters, they hit line drives, stuff like that. But he was a great bunter. And what kind of the reason why he's not at the top is because towards the end of his career, the last 5 to 7 years, he played first base. But for the majority of his career, he did play second base.
Okay. 92 home runs, which baseball's a funny sport because that's just not a position where you see a lot of home runs, right?
Not then, maybe more so
More,
today.
yeah, more so today than then. But as a player and as a coach, I've and I think this is something we've had a conversation about, and you kind of explained it to me to help me better understand it. And it's not something that I'm confused about. I just don't understand the importance of having certain type of hitters play specific positions. So when people say you want to get more power out of your third baseman, if you have a third baseman that's not a power hitter, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's one of those. It's just kind of one of those weird baseball things where
I yeah,
your corners, you want more power out of your corners than necessarily your shortstop or your second baseman or even an outfielder to that matter.
right. I think it's more trends
Hmm.
because I think the trend was broken with like Kyle Ripken and A Rod. You know, A Rod started off as a shortstop. And then he started to hit for power. Kyle Ripken Jr. started hitting for power. Um, I think the trend started to change like with Ryan Sandberg in the '80s. Because he was a 280 hitter, averaging like 20, 30 home runs. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to happen. But I think it's one of those things that's it's just a trend. Um, Now it's like, now there's kind of a science behind the starting lineup. It's not necessarily your fast, outfielder or your fastest guy who bunts all the time. It's really the person that makes the best contact and gets on base is
Right.
your leadoff.
Right.
And, that doesn't matter what position. Like it was always taboo. You never have to catch a lead off. You never have, I was told growing up that I was too short to be a catcher. And now it's like there's no size range or no model body
Hmm.
for each position.
That's
Um,
interesting. You're too short to be a catcher. However, the catcher is the only position on the field that's not standing up.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Well, I said Miguel was told he was too short to play catcher, but the catcher is the only position on the baseball field that is not standing up.
Now, I did play first base, and I admittedly was too short for first base, but we're not debating that right now.
Oh yeah. Listen, it's funny. You're a little bit taller than me, and I played catcher too. So
There you go. So, one and two, I was kind of going back and forth because I think number two, which I decided on, has more of that historical reference, that more like, you know, monumental historical moment. So number two would be Jackie Robinson.
hmm hmm. Now it's hard to like deny Jackie Robinson. Like
That's what I'm saying, right? It really is hard because when you think about baseball and monumental moments, and because even Jackie Robinson admitted that when he was picked to be the first, he wasn't the best,
right, right,
but he still had a relative, Hall of Fame career. He stole
right.
he stole home 18 times. Like now,
Wow.
people only still home like once a year, maybe if that,
In the entire league,
in the entire league, right?
and he did it 18 times. That's amazing. I mean, it's hard to deny Jackie Robinson of anything because of what everybody knows the story of Jackie Robinson. If you don't know the story, check out the Jackie Robinson story. actually have the original movie, which he played
He
himself.
played himself in that. Yeah, that's still weird to watch for me, but yeah.
It is kind of strange. Um, he was Rookie of the Year in 1947. He was the MVP in 1949. Six-time All-Star. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in '62. He did win a championship with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955. 311 hitter, career hitter. 1,518 hits. I almost said home runs. 1,518 hits. 137 home runs. 734 RBIs. Um, Now, these numbers that you are putting up, are these only numbers from the major leagues, or are there any of these from his Negro League days too?
Just the major leagues.
Just the major league. So we only his numbers he may have even better numbers than this. So this just think about that.
Yeah.
Um, when we're making this decision, he had these type of numbers in and didn't even play his entire career in the majors where they were recording all of his statistics. At this point, with the induction or the acceptance of the Negro League stats, his numbers, I guess his numbers will be higher. I don't know. Maybe his average could be lower, could be higher. I don't know. But I'm assuming his RBIs, his hits, and his home run numbers would be higher.
Yeah, because when he came on in 1947, he was actually 28 years old. So you
Okay.
figure he had been playing since he was 21, at least 22. So
Right. He
you're
was
talking at least
probably
5 years.
about he was about in his prime.
Right.
Um, okay, so it's hard to deny Jackie. So I'm curious. I'm interested of who you got next.
So the person that I have as number one is probably the greatest
Now, before
five.
let me stop you. Let me stop you. I want to say this before we move on. So we are putting together a Mount Rushmore. If you don't know, we're putting together a Mount Rushmore of baseball players: one outfielder, one infielder, one pitcher, one catcher. Right now, we're doing first and second base. Next week, we'll do third base and shortstop. Jackie's impact on the game should probably alone put him on the Mount Rushmore. But that's not what we're going by. But I'm just thinking about it. Just thinking
Well,
about it, like his
I mean,
impact of what he did, the sacrifice he made would be enough to put him on a Mount Rushmore of baseball. I mean, every baseball fan from here until I don't know for how long is going to know who Jackie Robinson is. They
mhm.
may not know who Lou Gehrig is. They may not know who Derek Jeter, but they will know who Jackie Robinson is. So I think his impact alone will probably have him on the on the Mount Rushmore. Now, with that being said, go ahead and put up your next person. But
Well,
I'm like, yeah, he was
and
better.
that and that's why I put him here because I mean we technically did the same thing with Barry Bonds, even though there's some controversy there. You
Hmm.
know, he has the most home runs in Major League history. You know, and granted, it was in an era of baseball that was controversial and challenging, and you know he was not above reproach and may have done some things you know based on the head size alone, whatever. But when we talk about impact, that's why I put Jackie Robinson here. But if you want to go by pure numbers and pure, talent, um, this number one second baseman had the best defense, offense, um, played for the Big Red Machine, was also a hell of an announcer, and from all reports, a great man.
I knew it. I
Um,
knew it. I
Joe
knew it.
Morgan.
I knew it. I
Joe
knew it.
Morgan.
I knew. I knew you were gonna go there on
I
me.
miss his. I miss his. I miss his him on the broadcast, man.
Joe Morgan was great.
He was a great,
Joe Morgan was great.
impartial,
May he rest in peace.
yes.
Joe Morgan was great. We just lost him last year.
Yes. The last year or the year before. It was
Yeah.
fairly recent.
It might have been the year before. That whole 2020 COVID year is like it's like almost like we skipped over that year. Like
Right.
to say 2019 was 2 years ago doesn't feel
It
correct.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But those are his stats. So he played for the Big Red Machine. So for those that don't know, the Cincinnati Reds were a team to deal with in the 70s. They were in the World Series in 70, 72, and they won in 75 and 76. The Big Red Machine consisted of Pete Rose, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, pictured here, Johnny Bench, George Foster. They just had a dominant team. But
Absolutely.
this young man right here, who was only 5'7",
Mm.
born and raised in Houston, wound up playing against the Phillies in 1980 for the Houston Astros, and then became a Philly in 1983 for a World Series run with the Phillies. Um, I mean, you see the numbers there. He was an MVP, um, two-time world champion, was in 3 World Series. The dude was bad. Had a strong arm, was fast.
That season he batted 327. 17 home runs that year, 94 RBIs, forced
132 walks,
132 walks. That's important. That's important. That's big. His career he batted 271,
which is kind of low,
which is
but
kind of low for a great.
for a great. But he had a lot of walks.
He had a lot of walks. Now I don't feel like I can put him above Jackie Robinson.
Really,
I don't feel like I can. I feel like the numbers for Jackie Robinson were just a little. I know you did in a way because Joe Morgan's numbers were better,
right?
but I feel like Jackie Robinson's like his career average was better,
Yeah, was that 40 points higher?
and he had
But
more career home runs
but Jackie Robinson also played fewer years, fewer seasons
in the majors,
in the majors.
and then
Right.
and then retired once Brooklyn said they were moving to L.A. He didn't want to move. He didn't want
That's
to play.
actually not true.
Oh well, help educate me.
Jackie Robinson was actually traded to the New York Giants
And he
in
didn't
19,
want to play for the
and he
Giants.
did not want to play for.
That's what
Now,
changed.
rumor has it that he was already planning his retirement. I think he was gonna he was gonna be the president of uh Oh Nuts Coffee or something like that back in the day.
Okay.
So that was already in his side pocket, and then he started going into the civil rights activism that he would continue on for the rest of his life. So, but yeah, he actually was traded to the Giants, did not report, said I'm done, and they even offered him double the salary to come back because they wanted him to play with Willie Mays and Monty Irvin and all that.
Sorry.
But
I'm,
so
I'm
yeah,
getting
just a little
I'm
little
getting
history.
text messages and stuff about the show, and I'm dropping my phone.
Come on, man.
Um. Oh, my guy, Coach Singley from well, you know Coach Singley from Chichester.
Oh wow.
Coach Dan Singley. He said he loved Joe Morgan also, but Hornsby's numbers are sick. Never seen him play, but obviously you were crazy numbers.
Yeah, and I think I was trying to I saw Hornsby numbers. I saw there's some players like Napoleon Lajoie or something like that. Though I think that's too far out of the range, so I kind of kept it to like maybe like the 30s, but I tried to keep it to the 50s and today. So we can talk about Rogers Hornsby and other players, but I'm just thinking just to try to keep it you know as current as possible, but providing some history as well. Oh, you got the microphone and you're sitting back. I know what that means.
It means I'm comfortable. It
Mm.
means I'm comfortable. So for what you put on here, I have a hard time. And like you said, Joe Morgan played longer, so
Numbers
so it
wise,
makes it makes his numbers, his numbers are stretched out a bit in a sense.
I'm
There's
sure if you take away the extra years that he played towards the end, it probably, average wise, at least batting average wise, would be closer um, to Jackie's. But
well, if you just take it on its surface, I gotta go with Jackie. I mean, there's always stories behind the numbers, right? They always say numbers never lie, but there's always stories behind the numbers. So I have to go with Jackie because for one, well, I went with Lou Gehrig because his numbers were better than Pujols,
mhm,
and his power numbers were better than Pujols,
mhm.
if I remember correctly.
Right.
So Jackie's power numbers were also better than Joe Morgan's. And can you pop up Jackie again? Yeah, thank you.
Not his power numbers, just his
His
average.
average, his average one. I mean 311, 311 average. Now, how many home runs did Joe Morgan hit?
268.
Okay, so he hit more home runs than Jackie did,
Mm-hmm.
and you say he played longer than Jackie did,
Right.
and Jackie wasn't in the majors until he was 28 years old.
Right. So, like you said, if you either take away 5 years from Joe Morgan or add the 5 years of Jackie Robinson, they may actually come in even.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a
It is.
tough one
It's a tough one.
because Jackie Robinson's career in the majors was abbreviated.
Right.
If I can say it like that. Joe Morgan's a great man. Joe Morgan is a great. Like it's hard to go against Joe Morgan too.
Right.
Like I feel like it's funny because I feel like if I go against Joe Morgan, I'm going against somebody that I know personally, and I don't know him personally at all. But he was on TV pretty much my whole life,
Right.
um, talking baseball to me all the time,
Right. Making it
um,
simple too.
and keeping it simple. This one I'm probably going to have to side with the people when we put the survey out for them to vote on.
You want to put it out now? Now that
No,
we
well, I guess we can put it out now, but
thanks.
I guess we can put it out now. I forgot. I forgot we're not doing third base and shortstop today. That's next week.
Right, right.
So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to put it in the YouTube chat, and I'm going to put it in some other chats later on. Excuse me, some other places later on, um, so people can check that out.
So you got Lou Gehrig, which we both kind of agree on, and then you have Jackie Robinson, right?
I think I have Jackie Robinson, but like I said, it's hard to go against Jackie just for the due to the impact,
Right.
right? So I always say, like, it's a no brainer that Michael Jordan is, I'm going to say, one of the greatest basketball players ever, right?
Mm.
On the court. But one of the things that puts him over the top as an all-time great with not only his skills on the court is what his impact on the game. Michael Jordan's impact on the game was amazing, second to none. Right I feel like two players had an impact on the game that I feel like Michael Jordan had an impact on the game that changed the game, and I feel like Allen Iverson had an impact on the game that changed the game. And I don't feel like there's anybody like LeBron, Kevin Durant. I don't feel like there's anybody. I don't feel like those guys are changing the game. Now their skill set's a little bit different for what they are. I don't feel like they're changing the game. Jackie Robinson's impact on the game.
It's too great to ignore.
It's thank you. That's the best way I can. That's the best way to put it. I think, and I'm glad you did it. It's
I,
too great to ignore. Um, William Parker says Jackie's impact is forever game changing. Absolutely.
which is true.
Absolutely. It's just tough. It's tough, you know?
Yeah, because it's because you can't ignore the impact. You can't ignore the significance.
It's hard to ignore it.
It's like if you flip it, it'd be easy because Joe Morgan's numbers match, and the significance. But
Mhm.
when you take the fact that, like, Jackie broke a barrier that was at that time, it was almost 50 years before another person of color was even allowed in a stadium as the same time as whites. Bridging the gap. Now it's all colors coming into Ebbets Field in Brooklyn versus just whites. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
The one of the other things when you think about Jackie Robinson and Joe Morgan, the comparison there, and even well, who was it? Was it Rod? Who was it? Who'd you have up there first? Rod Carew.
Yeah. So,
Not that it was easy in Joe Morgan's time or Rod Carew's time,
mhm.
but when Jackie did it, he had to face things that were probably on an escalated level than what Joe Morgan and Rod Carew probably faced.
Right, and if anybody hasn't seen it, go watch 42. It's an awesome movie, but it also points out that within the first 3 years, there you go, he
Now that
had
yeah.
he had to take a vow of silence. He could not fight back, with
Mhm.
all the stuff that was going on.
And which is part of the reason he was selected by Branch Rickey.
Right.
He wanted somebody that he felt would not, was strong enough to not fight back.
And it's funny because there's other players from that era. I think it was Willie Mays or Monty Irving. They were like, "I'm glad I wasn't the first." He's like, "Because I would have knocked somebody, knocked somebody out." You know what I mean?
Um,
Uh,
Coach Singley texted me again. He said the pressure that Jackie had to go through was insane, and he still performed with all he had to go through in his time. Period, hands down. Like
right,
that's not something that you can put into a statistic,
right.
but it's it counts for something. Um, Glenn Wyatt says Roberto Clemente.
Great player, but he did not play first base or second base.
He might have I sent him all the stuff at the same time, so he might be responding to some of the other stuff. But
Right, and if you're tuning in late, we kind of had that debate, and I think Justin was surprised that I did not put Clemente on there.
I was.
And it was just for the simple fact that we're talking about five tools, as close to five tools as possible, and it was just that he lacked the power numbers as the other ones we had presented. It was about the same for average, obviously fielding, running, stealing base, and stuff like that. Throwing, phenomenal arm, but he just lacked a little bit of the power. And I was trying to be as fair and impartial and try to stick to my own criteria. I didn't want to be a hypocrite, not too much anyway.
Well, there is a another segment to the show that we kind of teased last week, but we're going to go ahead and put it together this week. And we kind of got to put somebody on the spot. We just got to kind of put somebody on the spot. I hope everybody can hear that. We got the Big Dummy Award for this week. Big Dummy Award. Miguel, who gets the Big Dummy Award? Because you brought it up. I forgot about it before the show, but you brought it up. Plays for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's probably one of the main pitchers for the Brewers coming out of the bullpen. Lights out reliever.
Lights out reliever, and his name is Devin Williams, who was the rookie of the year last year. Um, Celebrated the clinching of the National League Central by getting intoxicated to the point where he punched a wall and fractured his hand. He is out for the rest of the season. He's a dummy. He's a damn dummy.
And he may have messed up their chances.
Well, to Milwaukee's credit, they do have a pretty deep bullpen, but
he's the guy out of the bullpen.
yeah, he's the main setup guy and gets you to the ninth inning, and it's like, ugh. And to his credit, he did apologize. He owned it, but damn, bro, you was a dummy.
All right, so I guess it's time for. Is it time for me to look stupid?
Dude, you never look stupid. You're getting much better at this.
Because you're giving me easier people to after you give
Don't
me 72 hints.
don't say that. I'm not. They're not getting easier.
Well, they're getting more in my wheelhouse. Getting a little better in my
I'm sticking.
in my
I'm trying to stick to your era, like eras when you were born.
That helps. That definitely helps. Okay, what teams are these? One is I'm assuming one is the Tampa Bay Rays. That last
No. Los Angeles Dodgers, Cincinnati Reds, Philadelphia Phillies, New York Yankees, and the Reds again.
what number 24? What team is that? When he's on number 24.
Dodgers.
Oh, that's the Dodgers. Okay. He one-time All-Star and 2 times he was in the World Series or 2-time World Series champion.
Correct.
I mean, this and number two. This is the what position? Give me a position because this is
Second base.
oh really, really okay.
Absolutely
Juan Samuel.
incorrect. I'm gonna do what Richie Ashburn used to do. Harry Callis. Good guess. Incorrect, however.
um, Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, and Reds. And the jersey number is just not jumping out to me.
You're gonna kick yourself.
Here's
You're gonna kick yourself.
yeah, I'm going to kick myself. Give me a hint of the 2 World Series were with what teams?
They were with your Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Yankees.
Larry Bowa.
No.
Was
Although
Larry,
he coached for both teams. He was on the 1980 Phillies as a shortstop. He was the third base. He was the third base coach for the Phillies in '93, which is the World Series that this player was on. That should help you.
Who was the second? Mickey Mourindini? Who was the second baseman for the Phillies in '93?
It was a platoon situation. So Mickey Mourindini hit against righties. Who hit against the lefties?
Oh man, this was my squad too.
Yes, come on, bro.
Oh man,
You're gonna kick yourself.
who was the other World Series with?
The Yankees, 1996. He was a part-time player on that team.
Mariano Duncan.
Bingo.
Guy. Mariano Duncan.
Bingo.
Why couldn't I remember that right away? I don't know, but Mariano Duncan.
Yes, sir.
I feel like I got it all by myself, even though I didn't. But I feel like I got it all by myself.
For the most part.
Because I feel like I should have gotten it by myself.
I mean, for the most part.
Wow.
You took. Will I say fewer guesses?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did take fewer guesses. See, I probably should have asked you what era. Because that was like because the Phillies went to the World Series in 3 different eras of my lifetime.
Right.
So yeah.
Real quick.
Right. Yes.
Real quick. Before you sign off, and we still have time.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of time.
There was a reason why during our pre-show, for those watching out there, we have a pre-show. We do, a lot of talk and discussing, what we're going to talk about, stuff like that. But I had asked you if you were, in town on Saturday. So just in case, I just wanted to just take a moment to kind of just show some appreciation for our friendship, for our coaching relationship. For those that are watching, I've known Justin for 8 or 9 years now?
Yeah, I think so. About that. Yeah.
Something like that. So he was my head coach at Penwood High School in Delaware County. I learned a lot from him.
I probably learned more from you.
Oh, stop it! You're still mesmerized by Game Changer, aren't you? Awesome ad,
Sometimes. When it's straightforward, I'm good. But when things get a little difficult, I'm like, oh God.
You just hand it off. You hand it off to
Somebody else.
somebody, and then they mess it up. So, but I learned a lot from you as far as like demeanor, how to handle stuff, especially in the heat of the moment, under pressure. So I'm like, I wanted to kind of give you something, just to show my appreciation for my growth and your role in my growth. So I'm like, what could I do? Something small, maybe not. Your favorite team is the North Carolina Tar Heels, right?
Yes.
And the last fungal bat you had, you destroyed. Is that correct?
He said I destroyed it.
Something. No, you
can say that.
And then used duct tape
and Gorilla Glue.
There you go. And it lasted almost
a couple years. It lasted a few seasons. Yes, it did.
So on Saturday, I wanted to meet up with you because I wanted to present to you just a gift of appreciation. So I wanted to gift you this.
Oh man, that's dope.
And it has the colors of.
Oh man, that is cool, man. Thank you.
You got it. It's all yours. There it is.
Thank you.
To my coach. And this should help you.
Check it in the mail.
Yes, sir. It should help you reach the outfield during infield outfielder. I know. That's got a small chip. We'll
it's okay. That is dope. Thank you so much, man.
Got you, bro.
Wow. That is, and I was in the market for a new fungal bat too. When you were leaving, I was like, I got to get a fungal bat.
And I was like, you said so too. You're like, man, I got to get me a joint. And I think you said you were looking at something you were getting ready to get. Then you're like, you passed on. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I was actually looking at because I liked the one that you had, the Victor's bat that you had, and yeah, that was. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I can't wait for Saturday now.
Now we got to meet up, right?
And just so you know, I do believe I will be home on Saturday. So
all the better.
Yeah. So, well, thank you very much for that. I don't even know how to end it now, but thank you very much for that. And there is if you're in the YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, in the YouTube chat right now, you will see that there is there's a link for our newest survey, which will be the first and second baseman. You can select who you want to be on the Mount Rushmore. We'll take your responses and combine them with our responses, and we'll make that happen. We will add. Well, actually, we won't add that to our Mount Rushmore because we still got to do the third base and the shortstop. But after that, we will decide who gets to go, and then we still have catchers and pitchers to come. So the pitchers one's going to be fun.
I think the left side of the infield is going to be fun because
that's going to be fun too.
You got some greats, and I already had a debate about third base with a family member who's obviously extremely crazy, misguided, so we'll see how that works out too.
Okay. All right. I can't wait to have the conversation. I'm looking forward to it. But it's time for us to get up out of here. I already guessed the player. If you're just tuning in, I already guessed the player. It was Mariano Duncan.
In under 2 minutes.
Right. I'm glad we didn't wait till the end of the show this time. The very end of the show. Shout out to our big dummy of the day, Devin Williams, relief pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers.
We appreciate you being a dummy.
Man, I mean, that's tough, man. Like, he got drunk, he got into a situation, and I believe he threw a punch, and from what I heard, he threw a punch and hit a wall.
There's nothing to say. There's no comeback. There's
not. But with all that being said, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all checking us out. Make sure you check us out here every Wednesday at 9:00 right here on our YouTube channel. That's the New Twist Radio YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/New Twist Radio. And you can check out all of our other episodes over on the New Twist Radio YouTube page. All right. So, with all that being said, thank you again for joining us on the Check Swing podcast. We will check y'all out. There's my new fungo bat. Can't wait to get it. We will be with you and check you out next week right here on New Twist Radio. Talk to y'all next time. Peace.